Let's just start with the substitute teacher.
Well, let's just back up. They're not my areas of concern.
I'm sorry,
I'm not the
Mrs. Gross.
decision maker. I'm the lawyer. Just articulating.
Thank God.
My apologies. So, Mrs. Gross's 3 areas of concern to the board. When I tell you that the very first day that he was interviewed, I went to Mrs. Gross and told her I feel uncomfortable. She was a newly hired superintendent who clearly does not favor me. I was never going to go against the recommendation of her superintendent. I told her repeatedly, he does not have source for teachers credentials. He has an article in the newspaper about a physical altercation with the student. Her response to me was, leave it alone, we do not have another Spanish teacher. How am I going to tell a person not to come back going against what Mrs. Gross is saying? I am not an adversarial person. I'm a person who comes to work that wants to respect authority. You guys know that. I'm not a troublemaker. I was not going to go against what she was saying. She didn't feel comfortable getting rid of him. I did exactly what she asked me to do. She said, meet with him, she said, in the presence of another administrator, which I did. And administrators know that. You never meet with a teacher with an adversarial situation alone. So I asked that Ms. DeVita be present. Ms. DeVita was not present available until after 11:30. I met with him at 1 o'clock because it was his prep time. So yes, I was concerned, but I didn't want to go against what Mrs. Gross was saying. Yes. Okay. The other point too was the HIV. The reason why that was not considered HIV is because it wasn't. And I am the HIV coordinator. I have successfully done dozens of investigations, all of them which have been filed in the proper timeline. I am very clear about what 24 hours is, how to investigate each incident, and that within 10 days the parents have to be called to tell what the final result is. I am very, very well versed on the entire process. Because it's a legal process, I take very seriously. In this case, you're trying to assign the HIV law to something that was not HIV. It was a conflict. That's why I didn't file an HIV. That's the whole reason why. So there would be no need to. And then lastly, about the district email. If I had a relationship with Mrs. Gross, and I still want to have this relationship to this day, whether she believes that or not, I want us to work together and still think we can do it because we both care about kids and we want to see Noecker be a successful place. The email that I added a line to was my way of trying to communicate with a person who didn't want to hear anything I had to say. It was, you never said this to a teacher, this is not what happened, and Ms. Gross respectfully was never present and wouldn't allow a teacher to speak on my behalf. So out of desperation to communicate with somebody who never accepted me from the beginning, yes, I did add a sentence, and I've admitted to doing that, and it was wrong to do that because I wanted to provide clarity so she would know I did meet with the teacher and tell them the process. So that's the rationale for it. But I appreciate you giving me a time to explain myself.
How come Mrs. Gross